Hello, my name is Landon Figueroa, and today I'm going to be talking a bit about marijuana. Now, what I'm going to be talking about in particular is the controversy that's surrounding marijuana. Why is it illegal in some states versus other states? So, how I'm going to start off this topic is by giving you the basic idea of what marijuana is, what is so positive about it, like the positive uses that come from it, and the negative uses that why it's illegal in most of these states in the first place. So to get started, I'm going to be talking about what it is. So in the first slide over here, we're going to be talking about marijuana. Marijuana is known as cannabis and then other names such as weed or pot, but it's mostly used as a psychoactive drug, which means that it's mostly used toward your mind and your mentality and stuff like that. And when it's consumed, whether it be from smoking, eating, or anything that would involve consumption, it can have an effect that could give you a relaxed state or something along the lines of that. Now, in some cases, it's known for three different species. One species being the most common, the Cannabis sativa. The other two are known as the Cannabis indica and the Cannabis ruderalis. So the big question is, what gives marijuana that high feeling that people would normally get from smoking or eating or anything of the sort? So these are usually from the chemicals that are in marijuana. These are known as cannabinoids. Now, these different chemicals are ranging from a list of like 1 to 400. Examples are the cannabidiol or the cannabinol. But the one major one, that's the one that everybody knows, is THC. Now, THC gives you that really high effect, and it affects different parts of the brain that could go from pleasure, the pleasure portion, memory, any kind of conditioning, concentration, pain sensation, time, time perception, memory perception, anything of that nature. It all just focuses on the mind. Now, besides being used for as a drug or any part of the mind per se, marijuana back then used to have different kinds of uses for it. So it was used to create paper, cloths, ropes, anything of the sort. Any of the seeds were used for bird feed. The oils were made for lighting, soaps, and as recent as 2000s, even starting back in the 1920s, it was used for certain medication. So now the big question is, what other positive uses can marijuana have? Which brings me to my next topic, the positive effects of marijuana. And I'm going to be focusing mostly on the medicinal side of the positive effects. So, like I said, dating far back to the 20th century, it's been used for different types of symptoms and disorders, pretty much as a medication. So, some medications that were used could be known as the TT cannabis, the tablets menovarin, and the cannabin compound red, for some examples. Now, these medications can be used for different types of diseases, and the ones I have listed are cancer, for Alzheimer's, glaucoma, any kind of mood disorder, so depression or anxiety, or any kind of chronic pain. So if you were to feel pain in your back, pain in your side, your leg, if you just had a surgery, instead of using any kind of sedative, marijuana would be used as the replacement. So how it works for these kinds of diseases, for reducing anxiety, reducing inflammation, or to relieve pain, excuse the fan, control nausea, vomiting that's caused by any kind of chemotherapy. If you had cancer, it could kill cancer cells, and it's known to slow tumor growth, relax tight muscles, or people with MS. So if anybody was shaking, it would slow down. It would slow down whatever is causing you to do that, and it would stimulate appetite. So it'd be good with people with anorexia. So does it really affect me? Well, studies have shown, back in the 1930s, of course, that any kind of prolonged use of the drug does not lead to any kind of physical, mental, or degeneration. And they have observed that any kind of permanent or harmful effects from its continued use were not there at all. As far as mental effects, for depression, it has been studied and known to reduce depression and reduce anxiety due to the effects of the chemicals. But is that really a good thing or a bad thing? And that's my next topic, the negative effects of marijuana. So the negative effects of marijuana, one simply at the top of the list is smoking. Now smoking can affect the lungs very, very badly, leading to any kind of bronchitis or any kind of lung disease because you're smoking. Next are mental issues. So, due to the chemicals, mainly THC, any kind of increase in dosage could lead to some problems later on, and one being schizophrenia being the top one that would have that issue. Depression, fast heart rate, any kind of hallucinations, because this is a mental kind of thing, it's a mental kind of drug, and of course dizziness. So there are the effects, but the one thing that really is concerning is why it is illegal in the first place. So the picture you see in the slide right there is of Harry J. Anslinger. So what did he do? So as you can see from the slide, he had really been the one to push the illegalization of marijuana. So he had sought a federal ban on the drug, and in all seriousness, it was contributed mostly to racism. And from that, it kind of slowly brought up the whole reefer madness era of making marijuana illegal. So what Reefer Madness is basically a movie that showed the darker side of marijuana and really brought out the negatives, big negatives on what was so bad about it. Now, from there, it was from being a medicine to being a drug, illegal drug, excuse me. It had been given a different name. It was called marijuana with an H. Now, we have talked about harmful effects, but there are some long-term effects that come from smoking marijuana. Schizophrenia being the biggest one, obviously, because it comes from taking too much marijuana or high dosages of THC, because it can cause hallucinations and any kind of mental issue that could cause you to see things or anything of that sort. So a study had been known that depending on what age you started smoking marijuana, you could have a higher risk of schizophrenia. And then depending on the user, it could also produce something that's known as a cannabis-induced psychosis, which could lead to some kind of break in your reality and cause you to be a danger not only to yourself but to others as well. So in conclusion, we don't really know exactly all of the good things and bad things that come with marijuana usage. So whether you're for it or against it, we need to be aware that how far can we go when it comes to any kind of recreational medical use, because we know a lot of stuff, but we don't know any other long-term effects that can come from having marijuana in your system. So, is it still illegal? Unfortunately, in some states, yes, but it has been shown that 33 states out of the 50 have used it for legalizing for medical purposes. So, can we see some kind of legalization? Who knows? But one day it might, and one day it might not. We have to be ready for that. And for the last slide, I'll be showing you my resources that I use to make this presentation. Once again, my name is Lenny Figueroa. Thank you for my time.